What's happening, guys? This is House Cat MMA, and right now I'm going to be going over what happened at UFC Fight Night 270, Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. But before I get into all that, if you would just take a second to like and subscribe, maybe do a little bit of comment and sharing, that should be cool as hell. So, in doing this MMA YouTube shit, I kind of wanted to do it in a way that was different than everybody else who does it. And I've done a so-so job at doing that. I think at times I've been a little cookie cutter, but I think I've done an okay job at keeping shit different. So I think I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make a segment that I think I'll reserve for my YouTube shorts called, we can call it Drunker Than a Skunk. Because my dad gets drunk and he does some funny shit sometimes. And a few hours ago, I was minding my business watching some UFC fights, and I hear my dad had been drinking, and I hear him get up out of his bed. I thought nothing of it, and he starts pissing. And I told him, I said, hey man, you're pissing on the floor again. And he's like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, but you are. Hey, you're pissing on the floor. And he goes, no, I am not. And I'm like, fuck, man. Okay, whatever. And whatever, he gets done pissing, he lays back down, and I went in there, and I was like, what the fuck's the matter with you? And he's like, what? And I'm like, you pissing on the floor. He's like, I did not. And I'm like, where did you piss? He's like, I pissed in the litter box because we got cats. This is House Cat MMA. And I'm like, I told him, I said, this might be the funniest thing you have ever done. You know, pissing in the litter box, that's amusing, but not overly funny. But it's the fact that you woke up in a drunken stupor and then thought to yourself, I'm going to piss in the litter box. I don't know, I just thought that shit was funny. But jerking the curtain, we had Curtis Campbell versus Danny Silva, not to be confused with Danny Duncan. And, you know, Campbell did well getting Silva down at the beginning of the first round. But Silva did do a great job at going, you know, full on folk style wrestling on him and getting back up and then defending other takedowns. You know, they threw a couple punches here or there in the first, but nothing of real notoriety. But then going into the second round, Silva did a good job at knocking the fuck out of Campbell and putting him away via TKO 30 some odd seconds into the second round. And I fucked up the other day. I didn't mention Iwo Barianowski versus Austin Lane. But no, I mean, nothing really to that fight. Iwo Barianowski just kind of went in there and rendered Austin Lane unconscious with, I think, was initially a left hook. I was surprised that he did it that quick. I felt like he was going to do that, but I didn't think he was going to do it at 28 seconds into the first round. So, you know, Iwo, he's fucking good. I don't know what you do with him next, but I don't think it'd be crazy to put him against whoever's ranked 14th or 15th right now at light heavyweight if they don't got anything to do. And, you know, I used to work at a textile plant that I ultimately got fired from 4.5 weeks in, and there was this guy that worked there. He looked like Austin Lane. He looked like a 5'11", 165, 170 pound Austin Lane. And I went over to him randomly. It was like my second day. He was working. I was working too, but not right that second. And I told him, I was like, you look like a UFC heavyweight by the name of Austin Lane. Then he looked at me, he was like, okay. And then I walked away. That's not why I got fired, but I felt very awkward after saying that. I just felt like I needed to tell him, you look like Austin Lane. But yeah, then we got Roman Dolidze versus Christian Leroy Duncan, not to be confused with Michael Clark Duncan. And, you know, Roman Dolidze, he's kind of got a goofy style about him. Not as goofy as, say, a Ryan Hall, but he's got some goofiness to his style. And, you know, he was able to get Duncan down a few times. But Duncan was able to get shot after shot after shot off in the all through the fight pretty much, mainly the second and third round. He was able to get the decision. Duncan's good, dude. Duncan is fucking good. I wouldn't mind seeing him versus, you know what we should do? You know what they should do? They should put Christian Leroy Duncan in there against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. That's the next move for the UFC's middleweight division. That'd be a great opportunity for Duncan to get high up there in the rankings quick as hell. And then of course you got Michael Venom Page versus Sam Patterson. Kind of a boring fight, like, you know, Page has that goofy style where, not really goofy, but he's got that bladed stance, and he'll fucking hurt you. He'll hurt you bad, and he'll just hit you a little bit. Mainly, like in the UFC, it's just been a deal of, I'm gonna hit you a little bit more than you hit me, and then I'm gonna get the decision, unless your name's Ian Machado Gary, in which case he'll get the decision. Patterson did a good job of, you know, keeping him up against the cage in the third round for the most part. But yeah, Page got the decision. Nothing real crazy, but I say you put Michael Venom Page in there against Michael Morales. I don't think Morales would like that too much, because Page is ranked a little low, right? He's ranked, but a little low. I think he's ranked number 13 right now. But I think I still think that'd be a good fight. It actually might be a boring fight, because Page does kind of have, in the UFC at least, he hasn't really had great fights. But for some reason, I want to see that, either like a Morales or like a, fuck it, give Shavkat Rakhmonov a tune-up fight whenever he's healthy, and have Michael Venom Page and Shavkat Rakhmonov fight. That'd be pretty cool. And then you got Michael Aswell versus Luke Riley. That was a decent little slugfest. Aswell wanted to fight down on the ground, but Riley did a great job at defending that. But they did trade shots on the feet. Aswell did a good job of staying away from Riley's big shots, because Riley does throw big shots from his fucking perineum, not even from his hip, from his fucking perineum. But yeah, but Riley got the decision. Pretty decent fight. And then, of course, you got Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. You know, Evloev is a damn good fighter. He stood with Lerone Murphy and got the slight better of it, like the first 3 rounds pretty much. He got Lerone Murphy down a little bit in the third round, but the first 3 rounds was mainly them standing and Evloev hitting Murphy a little bit more than Murphy hit him. And if you can stand with Lerone Murphy, you can stand with anybody at 145 pounds. And Evloev proved that he could do that. But the third round is when Evloev started kicking Murphy in the nuts. He's like, you know what'll slow this motherfucker down? If I start kicking him in the nuts. He did it a second time in the 4th round. Mark Goddard took a point. But 4th round was when Movsar started kind of controlling the fight. He started getting Murphy down more than what he was in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round. Was getting him with some decent shots on the ground. Did about the same thing in the 5th. I was really hoping he was going to get the finish, because I said that Evloev was going to win the fight by 4th round arm triangle. I was hoping he was going to do that, but he did not. But he did get the win nonetheless. So I guess up next you got to do Movsar Evloev versus Alexander Volkanovski, which I think Evloev's going to win that, because, you know, Volkanovski, he is a champion and he is elite of the elite, but he's 37 years old. I mean, when's he going to... It's like what Dana White said in the build-up to the first fight between Anderson the Spider Silva and Chris Weidman. He's like, when is Anderson Silva going to walk in the octagon and be 38 years old? When is Volkanovski going to do about the same thing? But hell yeah, fuck yeah, that's all I have on that. This is House Cat MMA, and I will catch y'all later.